Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for being here. I feel so honored to be speaking with you today, to be surrounded by you all here at Point Honors. Wild where life takes you sometimes, huh? You find yourself in places you never dreamed possible growing up. While I was growing up, no one ever uttered the word transgender. For the longest time, I didn't know we existed until I learned about Gwen Araujo, a 17-year-old transgender Latina who lived in Newark, California. Though her story wasn't told in the most validating way at the time, I understood that she was trans like me, was of color like me, and lived in my hometown. I knew her without knowing her. I then learned that she was murdered. Her life was taken away because of hate. I now knew we existed, but I no longer thought it was possible for us to live. For many years, I kept my head down, trying to be what others wanted and expected. I felt so cheated and unfulfilled. My life was passing me by, and I wasn't even living it. At that point, I realized I had to make a change for myself and hopefully the world to make it a better place for all. Stepping into the bravery that Gwen once exuded, I shared my truth with my parents, my family, my friends, everyone, that I am a transgender woman. The majority of people in my life were sincerely supportive, though they admitted they still didn't quite understand. And from the negative reactions I received from people, I knew they too didn't understand. So I took it upon myself to bring that understanding and created an annual assembly educating students and staff about the transgender experience on my high school campus. I then followed that up by creating a club for students to safely and bravely express themselves while becoming active within the community. Our local culture was changing in the best of ways by simply making room for knowledge and compassion. Point Foundation does this year after year, creating spaces and inviting marginalized students into them to explore and access opportunities that were once thought of to be impossible. I was one of those students, a trans woman of color unable to afford college. Point Foundation changed that, not only by funding my education, but by providing resources and a network of people, the best people for me to rely on. I was able to study my passions of cinema, theater arts, and queer ethnic studies. I was able to make connections in college and become a model for 3 agencies based in Los Angeles, New York, and London, collaborating with companies across the globe like Victoria's Secret Pink, which I've been lucky enough to work with 3 times already. To help improve representation for all. I was able to graduate from San Francisco State University last year in the spring of 2021. My pursuit of higher education was no longer a possibility, but my reality because of Point Foundation. This kind of work Point Foundation does is especially vital today as we continue to live in a world that argues transgender people do not exist. Transgender people are a threat. So we do not acknowledge them, we do not welcome them, we do not educate you about them. While the visibility of the trans community may have improved since my childhood, the disdain is still there. Point Foundation is changing this by assisting people like myself, people who are queer and trans, people who are loud and proud. Point Foundation and Point Scholars are working on radically changing the world by being ourselves and by pursuing our passions, to make it a place where everyone belongs, is respected, and is celebrated. Thank you. Over the past few days at Point's National Leadership Conference, we were able to hear from some of this year's graduates. It is my honor to congratulate and introduce the class of 2022.
Year one.